Multiplying is a different story though. When I'm multiplying, just like with fractions too, I don't have to have like radicals. I don't have to have like denominators. They don't have to be like terms, okay? So multiplying and dividing do not need like radicals, okay? What you're going to do instead, which we've actually been doing while we've been simplifying, is we take the outside numbers and multiply those together. So we do outsides with outsides. Sorry, I knew that was gonna happen. Move this over a little bit, sorry, give myself a little more room to write. Okay, outsides with outsides, so 3 times 2 would give me 6, and the answer goes on the outside. Then I do insides with insides. So 6 times 10 would give me 60, and that needs to stay on the inside, okay? So outsides with outsides stays outside, insides with insides stays inside. And this works for both multiplying and dividing, both, okay? Now, I'm not done though, because I see the square root of 60, and I know that there's got to be some perfect square factors of 60. So let's see. 12 times 5 I know is 60, but neither one of those are perfect squares. Let's see, how about 4 times, oops, lost my pens here. 4 times 15, square root of 4 times the square root of 15. There we go. So the 6 is going to come down in the front, right? Just like we talked about on that first slide. Square root of 4 is a perfect square, so that's going to become 2. So they're both outside, so they're just going to be multiplied together. Square root of 15, though, the only factors of 15 are 5 and 3. Neither one of them is a perfect square, so it's going to stay as the square root of 15. So my last step now will be doing a little bit more multiplying. Oops, there we go. And I do those outsides with outsides again. 6 times 2 is 12. Radical 15 as my final answer here. Okay. If you could have simplified the radicals at the beginning, you know, the square root of 6 or the square root of 10, you could simplify first and then multiply if you wanted to. Neither one of those could have been simplified, so I couldn't have done that one. But be careful, even if you simplify first before you multiply, you might have to simplify again after you multiply. So it's up to you, but just make sure that you're checking before you say you have your final answer that that radical can't be simplified anymore. All right, so here's another way to look at multiplying, right, is distributing. So it's the same process, outsides with outsides, insides with insides, but you're doing it more than once, right? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply the square root of 15 times 4 radical 2. So take this whole term, multiply it by this whole term, right? Now, square root of 15 doesn't really have anything on the outside, so it's really like 1 radical 15 if you want to think about it. So we say, okay, outsides times outsides, 1 times 4 gives me 4. Insides with insides, square root of 15 times the square root of 2, again, sorry about the bell, 15 times 2 is 30, that's going to stay on the inside, right? Okay, I've done that distributing. Now I'm going to distribute to the next one. So I have the square root of 15 times the square root of 6. So those are the next ones that I'm doing, right? Square root of 15 times the square root of 6. Now again, square root of 6 doesn't really have an outside, so you could kind of ignore it, or you could think of it as a 1, right? 1 times 1 gives me 1, but so I'll be positive, and then I would do insides with insides. Square root of 15 times the square root of 6, so 15 times 6 gives me 60 plus 30 would give me 90, right? Okay, so that's the idea. You just have to really be careful of what's on the outside, what's on the inside, right? Outsides with outsides, insides with insides. You're just doing 2 separate multiplying. So if you wanted to think about it, and maybe I'll scooch this down a little bit. If it really hurts your brain to see what I did, really what I did was square root of 15 times 4 radical 2, right? Or 1 square root of 15 times 4 radical 2. And then I did radical 15 times radical 6. Those were the 2 distributing I did that got me to my answer of 4 radical 30, right, plus radical 90. Now I'm still not quite done. I got to make sure that I simplify whenever I can. Let's see, square root of 30, that would be 6 times 5, 2 times 15. None of those are perfect squares, okay? 3 times 10, nope, none of them. And square root of 90, let's see, that one I know for sure because there's definitely a factor of 9 in there. So I have the square root of 9 times the square root of 10, and 10 can't be simplified anymore. So my first one is going to stay put. It's going to stay as 4 radical 30. My second one, the square root of 9 is going to become 3, and then the square root of 10 can't be simplified, so that second one becomes 3 radical 10. 4 radical 30 plus 3 radical 10. Notice I'm adding now, so I can't combine them because they are two different radicals. So that's what my answer will look like.